Hi, welcome back to H Capital. You're with me, Balqis, and we have Farah Nadia Masrol. She is the founder of Lean in Sarawak. How are you today?
Hi, Balqis. I am excited to be here. Thanks for introducing me.
No problem. Okay, so we are discussing about imposter syndrome. Tell me a little bit about when was the first time that you realized you had imposter syndrome?
To be honest, I don't know. I can't recall that far, but I can tell you about the recent one, and it's sort of still ongoing. So I started off my career in PR, and then that's about like close to a year, and then 9.5 years in a heavy oil and gas industry, and currently I am in a totally different industry altogether. So the imposter syndrome that affected me was in 2019 when I started to tailor my resume to fit this other industry, and when I went through a couple of interviews, you know, the dynamic is different than oil and gas, so I had to convince myself over and over and over again that I actually can do it. And even now in this new role at work, I still have that, you know, that self-doubt a little bit.
So the change in industry kind of triggered you to have that kind of self-doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you feel that that's normal?
I think that's normal. Honestly, I think everyone has it. The difference is how you deal with it, how you take it, embrace it, and turn it into motivation to advocate you to move forward rather than bringing you down.
Yeah. So have you ever held back whatever you're doing due to that? Has that ever held you back in doing anything that you're doing?
To be honest, no. I've always been the type of person who wings it.
Okay.
Honestly, my husband calls me overconfident person. Because not confidence, confident. Because to be honest, however much you prepare, right, you will still have that self-doubt bugging you. So for me, when I get to that point, I'll be like, okay, let's just do it. Whatever comes next is next story, right? Yeah.
But for me, like, I think I've always been acquainted with imposter syndrome since I was young. I don't know why. I've been, I do have, insecurities a lot since I was growing up. So I knew I had that. I didn't know what was the term back then, but I knew I had it because I was too scared to, like, I wanted to be a prefect, but I was too scared that I wasn't good enough, so I didn't even try. So I think back then, when I didn't know what I was doing, I think it helped me back into getting certain opportunities. But I think as I grow older, it kind of, you kind of just, like you, I kind of wing it and see how it goes. Yeah. But it still doesn't make me feel like I belong. I think that's quite normal in
totally understandable. Yeah.
So it has never stunted your progress in terms of your career?
No. Again, overconfident, right? But I have to be honest that it does bother me from time to time. Then again, you need to know how to embrace it and turn it around.
So for the viewers out there, what do you feel are the characteristics of somebody who has imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Experts boil it down to, I think, 5 categories, 5 or 6 categories. I can't recall any of them. But I do know that some of it is overthinking, too much self-doubt, which is very dangerous. Fear of being recognized as a fake. Yes, a fraud, a fake, right? When in fact you're actually pretty good, you know. But those kind of characteristics, it brings upon other sub-characteristics. Example, difficulty in making decisions, which does not only impact your career, but it can also impact your personal life, right? So it's this kind of sub-characteristic that you need to be aware of.
I kind of, I read about this. I think there's, I think, about 5. There's perfectionist. I think you always want to, even if you get 99 out of 100, you will feel like it's not good enough. You always feel like a failure. Someone who is an expert, that they need to kind of learn more or like read more, get certificates to in order for them to be confident of what they're saying. The soloist, I think, it's when somebody feels like when they need someone's help, they will feel like it's a failure. They need to rely just on themselves. I think there's about 2 more, can't really remember much. But yeah, I think there's a different characteristic, but I think it can overlap.
Yes, definitely.
I don't think one person would just feel like it's just one, you don't belong into one category. It might overlap into a few categories. What causes this phenomenon? What factors contribute to imposter syndrome?
I think there's 2 that's actually quite major. One of it is the lack of role models in certain communities, especially marginalized communities and gender-based, which is women. So it's because of this lack of role models that some people tend to see it as, I have no way out. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see any signal of possibility of advancement.
So they don't feel like they could relate to anyone.
Yes,
they feel like they're alone
exactly. That's where I need to stress out that mentorship and having a great support system are very important. And the other major factor that sadly is contributing to this is that if you look closely, our community, whether academic, social, or corporate, right, they are bound to hundreds of years of stigma, stereotypes. So
the culture is already fixed.
Yes.
That is very hard for somebody to kind of change it.
Yes. Like back then, oil and gas industry, everybody thought it's a good old boys club, right? But right now, because people been trying to change that stereotype, diversity, inclusivity, so more and more women started to believe in themselves, right? So these 2 are the most major ones.
Do you feel that, for example, a lot of us, when you grow up, family kind of shape who you are? Do you feel that upbringing would kind of play a role in this?
Yes. My mom is someone who, if you comes back from school with 99 over 100, she will ask me, why didn't you get 100? Serious, I'm not kidding.
Did the same thing, sorry, Ma. She did the same thing. I got about 95, I think. And she's like, I'm pretty sure next time you can get 100, because I think she is also a high achiever.
Yes.
I think she expected it out of herself because she was brought up that way. So it was very hard for her to kind of, it's just what they know.
Exactly.
So I think I got it from her too.
Right.
So I tend to be a high achiever, but at the same time, I feel like maybe it's not enough. I don't know. But we'll be right back because we have a lot more to discuss. We'll be right back after the break. Thank you. Hi, welcome back with us at H Capital. We are discussing about imposter syndrome. We were talking about what are the factors that contributed to this phenomenon. But previously, I think it was in 1978 or something like that, So there's two psychologists who kind of coined the term imposter phenomenon, right? They hypothesize that it only happened to high-achieving women. So they see it in women. But I think over the years, we can see that men are also affected by this. But for you, you feel that everybody has it. Why do you say so?
I'm very familiar with the research that you mentioned, but like you said, there are researchers in the recent years that says imposter syndrome can affect women, men, and basically everyone.
Yeah.
It's basically, if we can generalize it, if I may, it affects those who doesn't know how to internalize their own success, how to own their own success, you know.
Yeah.
They feel like, oh, that was just luck.
Yeah.
It's just that. But if you dive deep into categorizing men and women, men, if you look at them, they have this stereotype that they have to be strong.
Yep.
They cannot show emotions. They basically do not have any emotions.
Yeah.
They do not know how to handle with
I
it.
think it was taught
Yes,
that men are
yeah.
supposed to act this way.
It's
even if they don't
upbringing,
want
it's
to,
stereotype, right?
Yeah.
So because of this, they don't talk about the emotions. So they, whenever they get criticism, whenever they get negative feedback, they're just like, oh, okay, I'll do better next time. But women, because we acknowledge our emotions and because we have that calm motherly nature in us, we pay more attention. So whenever, a bit too much self-awareness, right? But when people give us negative feedback, we sit on it longer than we should. And then we let it bring us down, which shouldn't be the case. We should be more like men, like brush it off. All right, okay, I take that feedback. I'm going to do better next time.
I kind of agree with you, but I feel like not everybody has it. I think a lot of people have it. Like we would experience it once in a while.
Yes.
But it depends on the intensity, for example.
And how you handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are some people who are not too in tune. They're like, you know, it's at the back of your mind. You doubt yourself, but you don't really, you know, it doesn't really matter. But there are some of us who are very self-conscious, that we think about it all the time, that at a point sometimes it might be a bit too much. And there are people who has this, I think it's called Dunning-Kruger effect, where they feel like they are not performing, they are not efficient, yet they feel that they are like the best. There are people who are like that.
They are,
I don't think it's 100% of people who have it, but I think majority does have it.
I agree, yeah.
What do you think is the worst scenario that could happen due to this phenomenon?
Oh, so much. You will miss out on the best version of yourself, and you will miss out on the best version of your life.
Yeah.
So kick imposter syndrome out the door.
I think there's two things that could happen. One, if you kind of, because you're so scared, you are so insecure, you don't want to take the next step, and you kind of, whatever chances is given, you kind of like, oh, maybe it's not for me, I don't think I could do it.
Exactly.
So you avoid it completely.
Right.
So you're missing out on a lot. Or a second one, I think a lot of us are kind of familiar with, we tend to procrastinate. I think that's the criteria of a lot of us. We procrastinate because we feel like, and then we could blame. If something goes wrong, you will find a reason why it didn't work out, or if it does work out, you will believe it's luck, because I think you're just focusing too much on your self-worth, like what you feel.
There you go. You nailed imposter syndrome.
Yeah, but we have talked about the negative effect, right? But maybe some good could come out of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about self-doubt, right? Imposter syndrome is basically self-doubt.
Yeah.
You can't internalize your own success.
Yeah.
A little bit of self-doubt is actually good, because it's like a check and balance. You know, you don't be too egoistic with your achievements. And with a little bit of self-doubt, you can realize where your gaps are, and you can reach out to seek guidance. But too much of self-doubt, that's where the danger comes in.
Yeah. People who have the syndrome, they tend to work harder just to prove
themselves. Yes.
Of course, if you do too much of it, you tend to get burnouts, right? And also, we have the capacity, I believe, interpersonal relationship. When you are so aware about yourself, when someone else have that problem, you tend to empathize more.
Yeah.
I think that could come out of it too.
Agree.
Okay, so how can we, as a community, embrace this syndrome? Because I feel like everyone has it. How can we embrace it?
Right, that's a very good question. First and foremost is to identify it. How you do this is, for me, reflecting on yourself.
Yeah.
I suggest you do it weekly. That's very good. And once you do this, from time to time, you will realize what your insecurities are. Right. Once you realize your insecurities, you need to talk about them. You need to get a mentor or get simply a friend.
Yeah.
Once you talk about it, you need someone to tell you that, hey, it's okay. A lot of people have it. And do you know, interestingly, there's a research saying that the more successful you are, the more likely you are going to get imposter syndrome.
So the more successful,
the more likely. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. But the thing with people who are very, very successful, they know how to manipulate the imposter syndrome, use it as motivation. So I was saying that you need to realize what insecurities, talk about it with people who tells you that it's okay.
Yeah.
And two more things that are very important is like talk about your achievements. Do you realize we talk about our friends' achievements way easier than we talk about ours?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yes.
So you need to learn how to talk about your achievements. One program with Google and LinkedIn that they have is called I Am Remarkable.
Okay.
You can Google it later. So in that program, they actually teach you to value yourself and to write down sentences that I am remarkable because, etc., etc., etc.
A good exercise to remind yourself every
yes.
day. I think there's one activity that people do. They would look at themselves in the mirror and
just practice.
Self-affirmation.
Yes, self-affirmation.
Yeah.
And the last one is actually on value. You need to communicate your value, because truthfully, right, nobody in this world will pay you the attention or the money that you deserve unless you tell them what's your value.
Yeah.
Like, so you need to communicate and you need to convince their thought that I value this because of my experiences and because, hey, I'm remarkable.
So do you feel a supportive environment? I
Yes.
think that also plays a role. I think
Definitely, yeah.
We would find a lot more people with imposter syndrome in a cutthroat environment. If it's competitive, I think you will find a lot more people who has that.
Yes.
Compared to somebody who is working in a kind of like inclusive culture, or maybe not too, fast-paced. I think there'll be lesser amount of that, because you would feel, I think in a cutthroat environment, you don't get validated as much. So, but I don't know. But I mean, I like fast-paced environment. It works for me.
But it might not work for the other person.
Yeah,
yes.
it might not. So you got to know. I think you got to know what works best for you.
Agree.
Some people they are okay. Some people they are not.
Yes.
So, how can we mentor someone with imposter syndrome? Just a quick recap.
Okay. Before that, right, I need to tell the audience and you that everyone needs a mentor. So as a mentee, you need to reach out to someone so that when that self-doubt creeps in, you can actually ask for guidance.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? But as for mentors, first and foremost, reaffirm your mentee that it is actually okay. Welcome to the club. Let's work through it together.
Normalize it.
Yeah. And another thing is that we need to start teaching our kids, especially young girls and young women, that they do not need approval from anyone.
That's a great point.
Yes, because we tend to, like I said, like my mom would ask me how come I'm not getting 100%.
Yeah.
But my dad is totally opposite.
Yeah.
And be like, she has done her best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need
to be aware.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
but I was lucky because I had check and balance.
Yeah.
But for other people, it might not be the case.
Yeah.
So we need to teach our kids that they need approval for themselves by themselves, not by any other people.
That's a good point. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us
today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you. I hope everybody get a little bit of information about this. If you have imposter syndrome, you can always, find the right help to help you cope.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you guys join me next week at H Capital, and see you again. To be honest, imposter syndrome comes from personality traits, environment, and also family background. There's a lot of strategies that we could do to overcome this phenomenon, but a point to ponder: why don't we create an environment in the workplace that fosters different leadership styles and support diverse racial, ethnic, and gender identities? When everyone is celebrated, it makes an impact. Do you agree? Thanks for watching this episode, and I hope to see you again next week.